Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm joined again by my friend, Mr. John Nance, Mr. Korean Cool himself. Hey, how you doing, my friend? Good to see
Oh
you.
man, good seeing you, buddy. I'm glad you're still around. And man, this snow and ice still sucks,
I
folks.
know. Well, I will say I try to find the positive in the negatives. I really do, guys. It's not easy sometimes, but I will say in Jersey originally, like if you looked at the weather report on Thursday, they said we were supposed to get another 3 to 5 inches this weekend.
Yeah,
But luckily, they were wrong, and
yeah. Thank God, because holy crap,
I still
that
got stuff in my
ice.
backyard that hasn't thawed yet. You know?
Yeah, on my deck. Yeah, and what's even worse is actually ran out yesterday to do some freaking errands. And
Mhm.
folks, clean that shit off of the top of your cars. The
Seriously.
roadway has on sides just people had ice just flying off because there's broken pieces of ice just laying
Yeah.
everywhere. What the hell's wrong with you people? Clean it off.
Yeah, that's your car, man.
Lord.
After your house, man, your car, you know what I mean? Like your car should be your most important thing. You would think they would take some pride in that.
Well,
And it's
not
not
just
like,
pride, but think of the others, man. Because
yeah,
like I don't know how many you've had, but like in Maryland,
yeah.
we've already had like two reported accidents that I know of where
Oh,
ice flew off somebody's car and injured people. Not just
oh, wow.
damaged the car, injured people. That's how. So, folks, clean your stuff off.
And the thing with the car is like there's no excuse. Doesn't matter if you have a huge SUV or if you have a little tiny shitbox car. It'll take you 5 minutes to clean the snow off your car.
Yeah, for
And, that,
real.
and that's if you have an enormous, gigantic beast of a car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no excuse. But anyway,
Anyway,
today, guys, we're pretty excited because I know, not to give too much away, but I'll give you a little bit. We're both big fans of the source material for this, I think, and I'm just a huge fan in general of this particular character and the different variations of it. We're going to be talking to you guys about a recent film, actually, from 2025, which is kind of rare for us because when you think about it, we don't really talk about things. Not that we're opposed to talk about newer things, but generally speaking, we haven't talked about anything this recent. We're going to be talking about Mr. Guillermo del Toro, uh, Frankenstein from 2025,
yep.
which you
I,
can find on Netflix. It got a very limited theatrical release, like a lot of these Netflix films do, especially the ones from prestige directors. I'm really excited to be talking about this one today, guys. So,
oh yeah, same here. And a little even more backstory. So our friends over at Watch Skip Plus back in November did a double feature episode, and it was Jose, Mike, and our buddy Sammy, where they sat and they did a review and discussion about Frankenstein. To which, we got to talking, and Mike was like, "Man, I really want you guys to watch this and give us your take. I'm really interested to know what you guys think." Challenge accepted. Mike, the wildebeest. This episode for you, buddy.
yeah, man, it's all about you, man. Because the movie's been on my radar because Del Toro is one of those guys. It doesn't matter what he makes. I've been a fan. I think I've been a fan probably since maybe the Hellboy movie. Like I didn't know Blade 2 he directed, so I won't say I'm not going to lie and tell people I've been a fan since that. Obviously, I went back later on and found out about his earlier films, but I've been a fan since the first Hellboy movie, and just fell in love with his stuff. Before we go ahead and get into the actual film today, I guess we'll talk just briefly about what we've been up to. If you had a chance to catch anything new, anything catch your fancy, a new television show or a movie, or
Oh, catch my fantasy? Well, no.
catch your fancy.
Kate Beckinsale's still a little too fast and nimble for me, so I didn't catch my fantasy. But no.
Here I am making my mispronunciations. I meant to say fancy, I think. But she's definitely a fantasy material right there.
Ooh, doggy. Nothing really excited us, right, to go
Yeah.
out to the movies to watch. So, hey, we're figuring out. I mentioned it in the last episode. So the wife and I, we actually ended up finishing Stranger Things season 5.
Oh, okay, nice.
I was a bit happy
Yeah,
and, of course, a bit sad,
yeah.
and a bit miffed, if I may. Felt
Mhm.
a little rushed. If this was like season 2, 3, or 4, you guys would have kept it going for quite a while. Neither here nor there. Wife and I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Oh, great.
So I don't know what it is, right? It's one of those things where you kind of like watch movies and you kind of want to go down a little bit of memory lane. So, the
Mm.
son and I were talking and he was like, "Man, I don't know what to watch." Because we've been watching the new Fallout series episode by episode, which is driving me nuts, right? It's like I hate these damn cliffhangers. I want the next episode now. We went down a discussion about older movies and some animation movies.
Mhm.
So Over the Hedge with
Okay.
Bruce Willis and Gary Shandling, animated movie from DreamWorks. Man, that movie's just fantastic. That movie was just fantastic. My son was laughing again. He was like, "This is
Mhm.
why this movie's in my top three. I love this movie."
Well,
How
that's all.
about you? Yeah.
It's been kind of a light week. Life has just kept me busy, so I haven't had a chance to entertain myself with a lot of stuff. I watched the film from '97. I've always been a huge Dennis Quaid film. I mean, he's had his peaks and valleys as far as his career goes, but in general, I've always been a fan. And there was a movie on Paramount Plus called Switchback that came out in
Oh
'97,
yeah.
and it's basically he's playing an FBI agent that's trying to track down this serial killer that kidnapped his son. And it's directed by a guy named Jeb Stewart. And this guy's got an interesting career. He's only directed 2 films, but as a writer, wait till you hear about this resume. Die Hard, Leviathan, Lockup, Another 48 Hours, The Fugitive, Just Cause, and more recently, one of my favorite YouTube shows, Epic Rap Battles of History. When you look at that list, there's some bangers on that list. You got Danny Glover, and you have Jared Leto in an earlier role. And here's one for you. You have Arlie Ermy. But when I think of Arlie Ermy, I don't know about you, Full Metal Jacket, Saving Silverman, like these crazy over-the-top performances. He gives like a real like reserved performance in this, but he knocks it out of the park. Another one we were talking about last week on our last episode, I think the last episode we briefly mentioned Walton Goggins. And
Yeah.
I don't know how he came up in conversation, but Walton Goggins, he's in it for about 5 minutes as a deputy of all things.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will forever be jealous of my wife was able to go to it's called the AUSA, like a convention down in
Mhm.
DC. I forget exactly where. One year she got to go. She got to meet Arlie Ermy,
Oh, that's so awesome.
and
That is
he was
awesome.
just amazing. And I'm like, why didn't you video call me? Because I'm sitting here pissed off that you got to talk to Arlie Ermy and I didn't. What's your problem, scumbag? It's like,
That's awesome, dude, man. I'll tell you what, like, and again, I always go off on tangents, so I'm going to try to keep this brief. But like all of our friends, or a lot of friends I know, do the convention scene, and they, go after some autographs. I don't do it quite as much just because it's so expensive to get in, and then it's expensive for the autographs, at least for some of these celebrity types. But there's a handful of people that have made an impact in my life, whether it be a director, an actor, a writer, and I'm very excited to have those autographs. It's not a huge collection in comparison to some of my friends, because I just can't frankly afford it. But
look at all these I got.
you have an amazing collection. But the ones that I do have, I can say that I've cultivated. I'm proud of every single one of them because there are people like Roger Corman.
Yeah.
I have one from Oliver Reed. Like people that like I just love them as human beings, as writers, directors, actors. And Arlie Ermia is one of those ones I would have loved to have because he's just one of those guys. He comes alive when he's on the screen. He just
Yeah.
absolutely kills it.
He's just a character. I
Yeah.
love him. I love him so much.
But this is a great performance. And I'll tell you what, as I'm watching this, another just brief thing, he has this amazing mustache. And I'm like, if they didn't cast, why can't I think of the guy that played J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man movies? You know what I'm talking about. The guy that was
Oh
in.
yeah. Oh god, we just talked about him. What? Oh, J.K. Simmons. That's who the hell we were talking
I know.
about.
I can't believe I brain farted on that because he's such a good actor. I can't believe we both brain farted on the name of that guy's as an actor. But anyway, yeah, Arlie Ermy in this movie, I could totally see him doing the J. Jonah Jameson role.
That's
He,
crazy.
he would have killed it. But yeah, so on Tubi of all things, dude, they had Chris Elliott's Get a Life.
Oh,
Now, Get a Life, 2 seasons of absolutely busting your ass laughing. It's like you can't laugh anymore from watching the one
Oh, yeah.
episode, and then you click on the next episode, and it gets even more ridiculous.
yeah, that was a funny ass show. Like you, I am a fan of Chris Elliott. One of his most enduring and I guess you want to say kind of like immortalized characters on screen when he played the butler in Scary Movie 2.
Oh my god, that's great! I love it.
Hiawatha! Hiawatha! Come on.
Yeah. Oh no, he's one of those guys that's just amazing. So apparently he wrote two books. He wrote a book with his dad years ago, and then he wrote another like novel. But he actually came to my local library and did a book signing, and he
Oh,
talked about the novel. It didn't
oh,
cost you anything to get into it, which is awesome. And all he asked if you wanted an autograph, and they didn't enforce this, was that you buy his novel. So of course I bought the novel because I wanted to get it anyway, and he was selling them right there. So I bought it for like 20, 25 bucks, and he signed it.
no,
And
yeah.
that's the example of the signing I loved supporting because all I'm paying for is the book. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
being grateful to hear him as an author.
I'm sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
You mentioned Dennis Quaid. Did you know that Arrow is putting out? I don't know if they put it out or it's on a pre-order. They're putting together another collection remaster of Inner Space.
Oh yes, I saw that, and that's a great movie, dude.
Fun movie. Fun movie.
Oh yeah, dude, I love that. He is absolutely fantastic in that film. Thank you for bringing that up because I had seen the Arrow announcement, and then of course I got distracted and completely
Yeah,
forgot
of
about it.
course, right? Life.
I would tell you that I give you a synopsis of Iron Lung because I went to see that yesterday, but I
Ugh.
won't even go into it. I fell asleep about a half an hour into it because I feel like such crap. And then I woke up and I was able to piece together the idea, but I'm not going to even bother to talk about that in detail because I can't really honestly give you much. It's an
Oh
interesting
my God.
film, and I think it's worth watching. I'll say that much from what I
Yeah.
remember.
I
But
think so. I have a similar story, but I think I'm going to save that story for when we actually talk about any of those movies. It's actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and tell it. All right.
yeah, tell it. Yeah.
So back in the day, when folks heard of George Lucas doing a remaster or
Mhm.
re-update or updated version of Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yeah.
Well, near us, and Troy knows this, is a theater called the Senator Theater.
Oh yes, yes, he's talked about that on the show.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic theater. So they were going to have an opening night. Well, me and a buddy decided, hey, we're going that weekend. So we
Hmm.
got in line about, I want to remember as 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they sold out of both their showings.
Oh my God.
We said, I'm not moving. I said, I'm not going anywhere
Hmm.
until they kick me out of here, period.
Hmm.
And wouldn't you know it, they came out and they ended up doing a midnight showing. And it was
Oh
actually the first time in the Senator Theater's history that they had did a midnight showing.
wow.
At least that's how I recall they explained it.
Hmm.
So again, we got there at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Midnight's a long way off. So we went
Oh
and
yeah.
putzed around, went to a bar, went and had some food. Finally got into the theater. They came out. They did the whole, intro with the
Mm.
MC and all that good stuff. We're all excited, and next you know, there it is. In a galaxy far, far
Oh,
away. Here comes the crawl and the opening scene, and then the next thing you know, I open my eyes. The Death Star blowing up.
oh no.
What the hell happened?
Oh my God.
My buddy said, I saw you fell asleep. I'm like, why the hell didn't you wake me up?
But you look so peaceful.
Like I said, I can relate to that story, but
It,
holy crap.
what I did see, I liked. Okay, that's the one positive I'll end on. So yeah, that was pretty much what I got caught up with. So I guess that brings us to our movie, and I can't wait to get into it.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, yes.
I'm going to just briefly mention Mary Shelley. She's the original author of the novel. She wrote this thing at 18, guys, and it was published in 1818. Now, how hard it is to be a woman in 1818 and get a novel published in our sexist society of, like, you woman go back in the kitchen and make my meal, like I hate to say it, like that's an accomplishment in itself. But just really briefly, this thing was kind of like what almost initiated the kickoff of science fiction. And because I think it's equally parts science fiction, horror, a story of God versus man, humanists. There's a lot of things going on in this story, which I'll get further into my opinion later on. You can tell some of her personal history was definitely brought into the publication of the novel because her life was marked with tragedy, including the death of her mother at a young age. She had four kids. She lost three of them, and her husband died not that long after they were married as well. So, I mean, and these are just a couple of things as for her as a writer. You know what I mean?
Well,
Uh,
that her mother died in childbirth, giving birth to Mary.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
As you said, her husband died shortly after, but her husband, Percy Shelley,
Also a famous writer. Yeah.
Another famous writer, but he was married when those two starting, let's just say, their courtship,
Yeah.
and they got married a week, from what I understand, if I and what I recall from the historical context, roughly a little over a week after Percy's pregnant wife had committed unaliving, did they get married.
Wow. See, that's kind of rough, man. That is rough. It's one of those things that a line you shouldn't cross, you know? So a little bit of background just before we get into the actual film, because I do think it is relevant. So this film and the book was influenced by so many different things. Let's start off by saying Del Toro is one of these directors that if you look at his filmography, he loves monsters, he loves creatures. And anyone that knows Del Toro, which I'm sure we all do, if you look at his filmography, which we'll get into a little bit later, it's a lot of creature feature type movies. But he always finds a way to humanize them and to have really interesting character arcs. But this Frankenstein material, this source material has had over 460 different feature film adaptations and over 230 shorts, not to mention the TV stuff. You know, like miniseries and different like things at times has popped up in different ways. You know, even what was that movie in the '80s, Saturday the 14th?
Saturday the 14th, classic.
Yeah, absolutely. The character has just become such an icon and has popped up in so many different places. Before we get into the actual film, I'm just curious. Like, and obviously no pressure here, but if you had to think of like when you think of Frankenstein, what are some of the ones that like really spoke to you, like as far as the different adaptations go?
In terms of the different adaptations, and this is where I'm going to go from one end zone to the other for those of you that follow football, okay? Creature Commandos, that Frankenstein, he was a mute and he let his actions speak for himself. From Creature Commandos, my next like beloved version of Frankenstein stars a certain Gene Wilder, young Frankenstein.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, this is Bernie Wrightson's T-shirt. Who is that right there?
Good old Frankie.
Frankenstein. Bernie Wrightson's interpretation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein when he did his illustrations, and I'm going to touch upon those and show some of those in this episode. So folks, you know, if you're listening or watching, please be watching when I talk about him. His interpretation of her book, to this day, there is a reason why Bernie Wrightson is a legend. As you can see, I have a lot of prints from Bernie Wrightson. Those happen to be autographed. We talked about autographs from our heroes and stuff. Yeah. So all the times where I was fortunate enough to meet him at our Baltimore Comic-Con and have so many wonderful discussions and actual laughs and just listen to him talk. His interpretation, his visualization of the Frankenstein story as written by Mary Shelley, hands down, is the best version of Frankenstein to this date.
Well, I'm going to have to track it down. I'm going to see if I can find a copy of that if it's possible.
You can find it. Folks have it. You're just going to be paying an arm and a leg of it because when he put it together, let's put it this way, folks. Bernie Wrightson, the master of the Macabre, he spent 7 total years working on these illustrations. He wasn't paid for it. This is something he did on his own. He was such a fan. He was so passionate about this story. This is what he had to do. And he finally put it together to coincide with Mary Shelley's novel, untouched, unabridged, unrevised, unedited. And they published it way back in 1983. It's been long since out of print. So there is a heavy, heavy premium.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. Though, but like, it's amazing, you know, like that's a love, that in itself is a love letter to the material.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's someone that, like I said, you know, loves the material. Now, I'm wondering, is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? I'm wondering if it's in the public domain, or did he have to go through her estate to get the rights to publish it? Did he self-publish it, or was it done by like someone like Dark Horse or
Marvel initially published it? It came out, as I remember it, a softback version.
Uh,
Dark Horse picked it up and put out a hardcover edition.
okay.
Beautiful, beautiful hardcover edition. I
Hmm.
should have dug it out. I can't think. I should have dug it out. But
Hmm.
Dark Horse did a hardcover edition
Hmm.
with a foreword by one another literary legend, Stephen King. Now, if you're a fan of Stephen King, you have to have known Bernie Wrightson in one way or another, because what was one of Stephen King's other big horror movies? Creepshow.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Creepshow. He did the illustrated graphic novel, which, if you folks have watched that movie, all those times where they did the dissolve into the cartoon, that's
Hmm.
Wrightson's artwork, folks. Stephen King also collaborated with Wrightson on his novel Cycle of the Werewolf. Now, what movie is that, folks? Silver
Silver
Bullet.
Bullet? Yeah, good old
Silver
Gary
Bullet.
Busey, baby.
So Stephen King did a forward. They did it in a hardcover edition, and man, that book commands a serious premium because it's, again, long out of print. Dark
Hmm.
Horse, out of respect, will not do another printing of it. But I'll stand by it, and I will literally fight anybody who says that was not a good rendition or interpretation of Frankenstein. I will fight you. I
No
will
problem.
use Sinanju. Okay, folks, I will use
Uh-oh.
it.
I don't know what it is, but it sounds very mysterious and possibly dangerous.
So you heard my versions of Frankenstein
Yeah.
that I absolutely adore. How about you?
So I'm a bastard and I refuse to rank things. So I will not rank these in any particular order. That's why I don't do numbers at the end of our show. I don't do a 9 out of 10 kind of thing. I respect other people that do it. It's not a dig on them. I just don't like putting numbers on art. So I'm not going to rank them. But these are ones that have had impacts on me in different ways. Bride of Frankenstein, 1935. The first Frankenstein, 1931. Of course, Young Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, because
Oh,
I
fantastic.
love to laugh.
Yes.
And then a one that I think people unfairly crap on. I think it's crazy and out there, and it's not perfect. It's got some flaws, but I think it's a really solid little film. And that's Frankenstein Unbound in 1990 by the man, the master, Mr. Roger Corman, coming out of retirement for the first time in many, many years to work for a studio. And that's what he picked. And again, I'm in the minority because I know a lot of people don't like that. But I think it's pretty damn solid. You can find it on YouTube if anyone else is interested in seeing it. Otherwise, don't. But I like it. John's clenching teeth. I can already tell his opinion.
I love you, Roger Corman, but yeah, I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
That's okay. I like what it went for. I like what it tried to do. But anyway, I know that I'm in the minority. So, um, before we get into it, real quick, I will say that Guillermo del Toro. Before we get into him briefly, let this guy's beloved by. If you're a genre person or just a geek in general or just a moviegoer, you can't help but love this guy. For this film alone, guy, he's got 9 Oscars. He's got one for best makeup and hairstyling, best production design, best sound, best picture, best supporting actor for Jacob Elordi, best adapted screenplay for Del Toro himself, best cinematography by Dan Lawston, best original score by Alexander Desplat, and best costume design. And that's just this film. On top of that, our man has won an Oscar for Best Picture, Best Director for The Shape of Water in 2018. And he won in 2023 for Best Animated Picture for Pinocchio. So it kind of shows you a little bit of his pedigree and a little bit of his love for animation, for creature features, and his love of genre material.
And I don't think he's doing it intentionally, but I do have a point of contention with Del Toro. I think they're going to win, and I'm going to wait until I see that acceptance speech before I let loose upon the world my public words to Del Toro.
Yeah. Well, I am very I'm waiting in anticipation for them. I can't wait to hear what Korean Cool is going to unleash. The karate
Oh,
moves. He's prepping. He's getting
oh
ready for
my,
the crane kick.
oh my God. Sinanju's ready. That's all I'm going to say.
Um, so real quick, briefly, I'm not going to go into his entire film, his total history. He was born in Mexico in 1964. He was primarily raised by his grandmother and grandfather. His film career really started in 1992 with a little film called Kronos. Then that got garnered enough buzz to give him an American film, which is a film that unfortunately didn't do that well, but it got his foot in the industry, called Mimic. I like Mimic, but
Mira Sorvino sold. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a pretty solid film. I don't think it got released anywhere. I think it was one of those things, limited release. One that I absolutely adore, 2001, The Devil's Backbone. Of course, Blade 2, I mentioned. The Hellboy movies. By the way, what's his face? Again, I'm going to fart with names here. Ron Perlman is begging Del Toro to make the third film, but that's nor here nor there. Hopefully it'll get done someday. Pan's Labyrinth, of course, like I said, the Hellboy 2, Pacific Rim, Crimson Peak, Shape of Water, Nightmare Alley, Pinocchio, and of course this film. The list goes on and on. The guy, like I said, he basically, every film he does seems to be a love letter to that particular genre.
Well, yeah, and so of course, as you said, with that genre, we can't. It would do him injustice if we did not also include his novel.
Oh,
The
yes,
Strain.
yes, which he also adopted into a show, I think, right, on the FX with Chuck Hogan.
FX called,
the writer Chuck Hogan, I think,
yeah,
right with on that, yeah.
Also, same title, The Strain, and it was a great series. I hated it that it ended, but to the point of, I forgot which interview it was, but they said it best, right? The series ended because the story was told.
Yeah, well, that's the way it should be, man. That's why I love. And again, only a second. Breaking Bad, 5 seasons, but you know what? They have the original beginning, middle, and end conceived from the get-go.
Yeah,
and that's what what happens when you strategize like that is, if fingers crossed here, in a perfect world, you don't have people shaking their head after, like, let's say 4 seasons of an okay show or a good show, and then a 5th season, and then they just, pardon my French, but they crap the bed.
Yeah.
Because they had what they wanted to do, the beginning, the middle, end, planned out from the very beginning. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
And and to circle back a little bit of what you were saying, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Del Toro is only one of 10 directors for the same film has won a Golden Globe, the Directors Guild Award, a BAFTA, and an Oscar, right? And I think that was Water.
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's something fascinating. I apologize if I'm jumping the gun, but I don't know if
never.
Del Toro is a huge book, artwork, comic book collector.
Yeah, he is.
To the point where he actually owns 2 houses, folks. Yeah. Uno, dos houses to house just those collections.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about Frankenstein, I will go ahead and I'll circle back to it. I believe he owns 5 of the original artwork pieces Bernie Wrightson did for Frankenstein.
Oh my
God. He owns
God.
5 of them. He
Damn.
adores the man. They actually met, if I remember right, back in 2008 to do an initial collaboration, because we all know Del Toro wanted to make this movie forever.
Yeah.
So they had a collaboration going. But he owns like 5 of those pieces. And, anybody from Del Toro's camp, crew, or even yourself, Mr. Del Toro, if you're looking for another Bernie Wrightson comic book collectible, I guarantee you we need to talk, because I actually have a very unique piece. It is the only one to exist. It's documented, so reach out if you're interested, buddy. So yeah, if you guys want to contact me, cool. But it just goes to show that here's a man with the genre who actually has passion, right? He has passion so much that the dude owns 2 houses? Come on, forget about it.
Well, let's face it, dude. We're both nerds. If you had, if all of a sudden you hit 50 million, yeah, I'd give my best friend some money and the people that are close to me, my family, some money, and I'd probably do some charitable acts.
Absolutely.
But I would also probably totally geek out and buy things that I could never. I'm not even like the sports car or the ridiculous trips, but I would being the nerd that I am, I would probably do something similar. You know what I mean? Like I could totally see myself geeking out and being able to go, oh, I love this writer artist. I'm buying their first edition, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Exactly right.
What nerd wouldn't? It's like nerdvana, literally. Next, I figure we'll go into our cinema photographer. And again, like I mentioned earlier, this guy's got an Oscar nom for it, man. The guy is named Dan Lawston. Hopefully, I'm getting your last name right, Dan. It didn't seem too hard to pronounce, so I can only slightly screw it up. Dan's got an interesting filmography. He did the original Night Watch, which is a great film, and I think so, in '94. And then he also did the '97 one with Mr. Ian McGregor. He also worked with Mimic, so he's been there since the beginning. He's done stuff like Brotherhood of the Wolf, which I absolutely adore.
Mark Dacascos!
We got The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
I don't know why that movie does not get a lot of love. I love that movie. I think it's fantastic.
Sean Connery, it drove him to the point of quitting. Now, mind you, listen, he was already up there in age, so he probably would have retired anyway after a couple more movies. But I don't think it's that bad either. I don't have the attachments to the source material, so I can't make the comparison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's done stuff like Solomon Kane, Crimson Peak, John Wick Chapter 2, Shape of Water, John Wick Chapter 3, Nightmare Alley. And more recently, he did the Apple movie The Gorge, which also came out in 2025. So he's got a nice little filmography there. And I love to see the collaborations with him and Del Toro.
Yeah, I think one movie, John Wick 4, he was on that as well, which actually has one of the most fantastic shots for those who've seen that John Wick 4, which I think most of you have. But it's the shot where he comes up the stairs, and then it becomes an overhead shot where he goes room to room, clearing everything. So it's a top-down perspective, which I can't recall anybody else ever doing that. Yeah. So when I saw that, the way he shot that, I was blown away like John Wick's victims. It was freaking phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Was that the DiCasso one where he was the bad guy, or was that the third one where DiCasso was the bad guy? For some reason, I always mix the two up. I thought.
The third one is with DeCascos. The fourth one was the final chapter, basically. Yeah. Supposedly, folks, rumors are abound.
Just like Friday the 13th always is the. Moving along to our composer, we have a Mr. Alexandre Desplat. Now, another one with a really solid career here, and these are just some highlights. Girl with a Pearl Earring in 2003. Birth in 2004, The Upside of Anger, Syriana, The Queen, Lust, Caution, The Golden Compass, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, A Prophet, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The King's Speech, and again, with Del Toro, The Shape of Water. So another one with a really solid little filmography. And not to play my hand early, but that's another thing, beautiful thing. I love the score to this film. It's absolutely stunning.
It's gorgeous.
With our editing department, we have Mr. Evan Schiff. He's worked on stuff like John Wick Chapter 2. He's worked on Proud Mary, John Wick Chapter 3, Birds of Prey, Nobody, and The Marvels. And those are just some highlights. He has a much bigger filmography. I'm sure there's always something I'm missing.
I have to throw this out because that's one of my favorite films of all time. And, what was it, 1999? He actually worked in the special effects department of Galaxy Quest.
Oh, I love that movie, dude. That is great.
Fantastic.
Movie. A production designer. We have a Tamara DeVero. I know you're a fan. Star Trek Discovery. Yeah, from 2017 to 2019. She also worked on Nightmare Alley. She worked on Priscilla, The Strain. You were mentioning she worked on the TV show Suits, Charlie Bartlett, and also the TV show Wonder Falls. With our costume designer, we have Miss Kate Hawley, and another one that's worked with our man before. She's worked on it with Pacific Rim. She worked on the great science fiction film, or I think it's great, Edge of Tomorrow, Crimson Peak, the not so great Suicide Squad, the first one, and stuff like The Call, The Wild. She worked on the Lord of the Rings of Power TV show, and a bunch of other stuff. Moving on to our cast, we have in the role of Mr. Victor Frankenstein, we have Mr. Oscar Isaac. Love that guy. I love 99% of what he does. This guy is one of these guys that just one of these days, he just popped up. He seemed like he just popped up out of nowhere. It's like one minute he was somebody I'd never heard of before, and the next thing you know, it's Oscar Isaac. Like he's like this huge name. Stuff like Body of Lies, Robin Hood, Sucker Punch, Drive, The Bourne Legacy, Inside Llewyn Davis, A Most Violent Year, and one of my personal favorites, Ex Machina. Also, of course, I have to mention the Star Wars, The Force Awakens, the other Star Wars movies, of course. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. He plays good old Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. We got Addams Family from 2019, The Card Counter, Dune, X-Men Apocalypse. Of course, I know Troy is a lover of Mr. Moon Knight. Got to mention Moon Knight.
Moon Knight's awesome.
Yeah,
I don't care what anybody says. Moon Knight's awesome.
I don't understand the hate for it.
Folks who are fans of video games, has anybody out there played Metal Gear?
Oh, of course, you gotta love Metal Gear.
According to IMDb,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Oscar Isaac is going to be playing Solid Snake in an upcoming Metal Gear movie.
Oh, okay. I can see that. I mean, there's a huge fan base for that series. Yeah. So I'll be curious to what they do with it and how it pans out. Playing the role of the creature, we have Mr. Jacob Elordi. And this is another guy. 1 minute he's some kid, and the next thing you know, he does some movie called The Kissing Booth that pops up.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. The first one pops up in 2018, and the next thing you know, this guy's all over the map. He's in the Mortuary Collection, which is one of the few films that he has done, which I like a lot. Deepwater, Saltburn, Priscilla, and then more recently, Oh Canada. This kid just popped up out of nowhere. And,
he popped up, and I want to pop him in the nose. I don't like him. Well, I'll have to forgive him because I think the wife and I are going to go end up seeing Wuthering Heights. But number one, he turned down the role of Superman. Number two, he's also in this HBO show called Euphoria.
Oh, yeah. How can I not mention Euphoria? I can't believe I missed it.
Yeah, and so you folks can kind of guess where I'm going with that. He gets to have some time with Sydney Sweeney. I'm going to punch him in the nose. Just kidding, Mr. Lordy. Just kidding. Jealous.
Well, playing the role of the uncle, we have Mr. Christopher Waltz playing the role of Harlander. And for a lot of people, I think up until a certain movie, he was probably not as internationally known. He had a huge career, a decent career in Germany, but he made a little movie with Mr. Tarantino back in 2009 called Inglourious Basterds, and his career just kind of exploded.
Yep.
And I have to say, I'm glad that he made that film because number one, I love the movie, but number two, he's such a talented actor. I'm glad that he got a chance to break out and to do so many interesting choices. This guy, of course, has done stuff like Django Unchained, Battle Angel Alita, The French Dispatch, Pinocchio, Dracula, Only Murders in the Building more recently, and Spectre. He did two Bond movies.
I have to say, his rendition of Dr. Ito in Battle Angel Alita, so I don't know if anybody has actually seen the anime, what a fantastic, phenomenal job he did.
Yeah.
I hope the rumor is they are going to do a sequel to Battle Angel Alita. So I hope he gets to reprise his role as Dr. Ito, because like I said, it was kind of a little bit jarring, again, having the anime as a point of reference to seeing his live action version of Dr. Ito. It was fantastic. I like Waltz.
And you're right. That's that. I tell you what, Robert Rodriguez, I love him. His career has kind of become a hit or miss. Luckily, there's enough hits in his career where I still love the man. But that's definitely one that I loved. And I definitely would love to see a sequel to that film. Moving along in the role of Elizabeth Clare Frankenstein, we have Mia Goth. Now, Mia Goth is, again, I keep on saying this stuff, but she's another one. 1 minute, she's nobody. And then the next thing you know, she's popping up all over the place. I think the thing that people probably will most be recognized for is the film X that came out in 2022 by Ty West. And then, of course, Pearl, which came out in 2023. And then Maxine, which came out in 2024. Suspiria in 2018. She did Emma in 2020. Cure for Wellness in 2016. She did Everest. And she did the Nymphomaniac films with Lars von Trier. Volume 2 she pops up in. Early on, when I first saw her in the early stages of her career, I just kind of felt like she was good for the roles, but I didn't see a lot of range. And now, as I'm looking through her filmography and I'm seeing some of these films that I wasn't aware that she was in, and I went back and revisited them, I'm like, wow, she's really impressive. And she really impresses in the role she has in this film, guys, which we'll get into.
She's going to be in the upcoming, I believe it's going to be released this year in 2026, The Odyssey.
Oh, yeah. That should be interesting.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And before I forget, there's one I can't not mention, which is Infinity Pool, which is Brandon Cronenberg.
Oh,
And I know
yes.
Troy and Brad did a great episode covering it. Brandon Cronenberg, like his father, it always makes interesting films. Playing the role of the brother, we have an actor named Felix Kammerer. He's playing William Frankenstein. And this guy popped up in stuff like All Quiet on the Western Front, the film that came out in 2022, another Netflix film. He popped up in Eden in 2024, and then a film called All the Lights We Cannot See. Playing the role of the father, Leopold Frankenstein, we have Mr. Charles Dance. Now, Charles Dance has been around for a while, and man, you just said it. He's basically, hey, let's just say, again, I've been working on my profanity, guys, but that said, I'm going to let it slip. He's a son of a bitch in this movie.
You know,
Yeah,
I will tell you, you want somebody with a commanding presence on
yeah,
screen,
yeah, yeah.
but I will say, I must applaud him. I must. Everyone should applaud him for his role with Eddie Murphy in The Golden Child.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I was going to mention. Early on, he did that. I know it's not as loved by some, but Aliens 3, an early David Fincher film, The Last Action Hero, China Moon. He was in Space Truckers in '96, so he's not above doing a little low budget B stuff. He's been in stuff like Scoop. He was in Your Highness, another stupid movie, but I love. I don't care what anyone says. Imitation Game, Dracula Untold, Game of Thrones. It was in 27 episodes. And apparently, The Witcher 3, he was in the video game. He did a voice for that as well. Now, this one threw me off completely. Playing the role of Captain Anderson, Lars Mikkelsen. Now, we just this year talked about his brother Mads. And I didn't know that he had a brother that was in the acting world. He's been in stuff like House of Cards. For animated fans, he was in the Star Wars Rebels show. We are just talking about the Witcher video game. Well, he was in the Witcher TV show on Netflix. He was also on the Star Wars TV show Ahsoka. Now, playing young Victor Frankenstein, he's not in it as much, but he did such a great job. I couldn't slight him by not mentioning him. And this is a young actor named Christian Convery. He's been in stuff like the Legion TV show. He's been in Lucifer. He was in Venom, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Cocaine Bear, and Sweet Tooth. He has a big role in Sweet Tooth, which is another great graphic novel by Jeff Lemire, by the way, folks.
Yes.
The animated show Invincible and the Monkey movie, apparently, in 2025. So I have one more actor, again, not in it for a lot of time, but the role that he has in it, I think, is pivotal and it's important to the movie. And that's a gentleman named David Bradley, who plays a blind man. He's been in a lot of the Harry Potter films, like the first one in 2001 and The Chamber of Secrets in 2002. He pops up in Exorcist: The Beginning in 2004. Hot Fuzz.
Oh, yes.
He gets serious in films like Harry Brown with Michael Caine. He pops up in Captain America, The First Avenger, The World's End. Again, another one that does Game of Thrones. He has 6 episodes of that. Works with Del Toro in 2022 in his animated Pinocchio. And here we go. Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. You got to love that, man. Another absolute stone cold classic.
Absolutely.
So next, I'm going to get into our script breakdown, and I'm going to try to, because we have so much to say about this film, I'm going to try not to do my normal jump too much into it. I'm going to try to do more of an overview. So the film opens up in 1857, and we see a Royal Navy ship. It's a Danish ship, the Horizont, and it's sailing for the North Pole, but it becomes trapped in the ice. And we see all these men trying to chip away at the ice. They hear an explosion in the distance, the captain of the ship and his men. They discover an injured man who they meet, and his name is Victor Frankenstein. They bring him into the ship, and soon thereafter, the ship is attacked by a monstrous creature, 8 feet tall, freaking looking monster. You can barely see him because he's covered in a cloak, so you don't really get a good view. And the monster basically, he attacks the men. He wants Victor Frankenstein. He says, "Bring him to me." And the captain doesn't want to do that. He's trying to help him out. And of course, this creature takes out just a ton of these men, severely injuring several and killing quite a few. They manage to get this thing, and they manage
the blunderbuss. The blunderbuss,
yes. And they knock him off the ship, He's still on the ground, basically shaking the ship because he's got that much physical strength to him. And what the captain does is he takes this blunderbuss and he actually manages to crack the ice, and the monster falls into the icy waters. Victor is brought into the captain's cabin, and basically, of course, the captain says, "What was that all about?" Effectively, Victor recounts his story through a flashback. Basically, what we established is at a young age, Victor didn't have it easy. His mom and him were stuck with an evil tyrant of a stepfather. Young Victor Frankenstein loved his mom. We find out she's pregnant, about to give birth to another son. And while this is happening, we see young Victor Frankenstein get abused. Eventually, she cries out in pain. And, Victor Frankenstein, because he's a doctor, he basically takes her away and tries to save her and the kid. But in the process of her giving birth, unfortunately, she dies. I will say the coffin is pretty damn amazing. The production design, it's this really cool, for those that haven't seen this really beautiful coffin where the head of it comes off and it's white and it's just really ornate. It reminds me of something you would see like maybe out of like Egyptian time,
like a sarcophagus.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. Aesthetically, like I said earlier, I mentioned the production design and the costuming people. I can't give them enough credit. Just from a technical level, it's absolutely amazing. We realize, again, the abuse that young Victor goes through as he starts to grow up. His stepbrother is adored by his father, and he's showered with attention. And we see Victor just constantly getting abused by his father. We see a scene, like, for example, where he's trying to teach him to become a doctor, and he's quizzing him. And whenever he gets something wrong, he takes out a stick and he just basically slaps him over the back with it. Victor gets obsessed with the idea of what if you could stop death? What if you could stop the aging process? And he goes to college and he's on his way to becoming a brilliant doctor. But one day he presents his idea. He has this radical idea that he presents to the board of doctors and his fellow students. And basically he has this idea of basically reanimating corpses. He says, why does the aging process have to stop? Why do we have to die? And we see like what's part of a corpse, and we see him hooked up to all these like electrical, like electrode devices, and he manages to show them that he's able to actually kind of bring this creature back to life, this former human back to life. But he's not really, the creature isn't able to really like have a conversation. But we do see things like he's able to catch a ball with his hand as an involuntary response. He's able to show some form of life, but they just kind of like basically think he's a monster and they denounce him.
What was it? God creates life and God delivers death. I mean, to them, God was the one that decided, not man. And that's where Victor, much like his last speech to his father, says, you know what? Not only am I going to learn everything from you, but I'm going to learn more than you. I am going to do something great. And that's what his whole argument was, because he found that, the Ministry of Medicine was stuck in the past. He's trying to show them that there is things beyond even what they have always stuck to, what they have always believed. He was going to prove them wrong. He was driven.
Yeah, absolutely driven. Yeah, his thing is, and again, we tie into like his early stuff, like with his mom dying, and again, we talked about Mary Shelley in the beginning and what she went through in her life. No matter how you look at it, death leaves a mark. That kind of drives him to say, no, it doesn't have to be that, Mm-hmm. So while he's giving this big presentation, everybody in this presentation, like we said, is pretty much against him. They think he's a madman, he's crazy. But there is one guy, and there's this one guy named Henrik Harlander, and he's impressed by his presentation, and basically he approaches Victor, and basically he offers Victor unlimited funding, and he'll even help him build this tower to continue his experiments. And we find out that this Mr. Henrik Harlander is also kind of going to be related to him because his brother William is marrying his niece. So, we find out there's a connection there as well. And his brother William kind of oversees the building of this laboratory. And of course, he wants it absolutely perfect. Like I said, he meets his fiancee Elizabeth. Unfortunately, Victor falls in love with her, but she declines his advances. We see a couple scenes where they're engaging in interesting conversations. You can see she's really intelligent. He kind of tries to awkwardly make a couple passes at her, but she's happy with William. She just happens to think Victor Frankenstein is really interesting, and the work that he's doing is interesting. As time goes on, though, what ends up happening effectively is Victor is making progress, but he's struggling to make any real dent as far as progress goes. He's having struggles because obviously the kind of work he's doing, guys, bring something dead back to life, isn't going to be an easy process. If you can do it at all, it's going to be a long, arduous process. And eventually what happens is Harlander gets impatient and he says, listen, this war is almost over. I need results within a week. Otherwise, I'm going to pull your funding. So from there, we see Harlander and Victor, go to a battle with a bunch of dead bodies. He picks the best body parts. He puts together his version of the perfect creature. And of course, he's oversized. And Harlander reveals to Victor, he says, listen, I'm dying. I'm dying of syphilis. And what I want you to do is I want you to transplant my brain into the body of this creature. And Victor says, well, no, I can't do that because you have syphilis. That's not going to work there, buddy. Yeah. So, of course, he gets into this big argument with Harlander. And we have this really epic scene where they're on the top of this huge tower in their laboratory. And it's not even Victor's fault, but Harlander, unfortunately, slips from the tower and falls. And Victor tries to save him, kind of. It's not. Yeah, maybe he could have put a little more of an effort into it, but I'm not going to completely blame Victor.
He's fallen, and he's definitely not getting up.
It's not a couple flights up. No, this is a big fall. So Victor says, "Screw it." I was already on this timeline for a week. I got the body put together. I'm also trying to see if I can rev this creature and bring it to life. And what ends up happening is we see a scene where lightning strikes the creature as he planned, but of course, it doesn't work. Of course, distraught and thinking he's a failure, eventually he ends up in bed and falling asleep. But the next morning, the creature is alive, and Victor awakens to find the creature. He's amazed by what this creature can do, the strength that he has, and his ability to quickly heal wounds. But he's also frustrated because he's trying to teach the creature how to learn and speak. And the only word the creature is able to talk about or say, is his own name, which is Victor. He's not able to say anything beyond that. So this is where things kind of take a cruel turn, because this is where we start to see the parallel of Victor and his father. Because Victor starts to get frustrated by the fact that he can't get this creature to learn, and he starts to behave like his father. He starts to whip the creature and abuse him. He has him in chains. William and Elizabeth go to visit him, and of course, Elizabeth, being the compassionate person that she is, she sees the behavior and how Victor's treating the creature, and she questions it. And of course, they also ask, where is Harlander? And then after he's pressured by his brother, he basically breaks down and says, well, you know what happened? Unfortunately, the creature got loose and he killed Harlander. After sending them away, Victor is frustrated. He realizes the creature doesn't seem to be able to learn, and he realizes he made a huge mistake. He says to the creature, he says, listen, if you can just prove me wrong, say one thing besides Victor over and over again. He says Elizabeth as he's setting these bombs in place in this laboratory. And at that point, he realizes his mistake, and he realizes this thing is going to die in this explosion. So he has a change of heart, and he goes to try to save the creature. But unfortunately, just as he's getting to the door of the laboratory to try to free the monster, it explodes. And basically, he loses his leg, effectively. This is where we cut to present day. On the ship, the creature boards the ship, and he confronts the captain, and he shares his own story. And this is what we call part 2, the creature story, effectively. The creature, like I said, we escaped the explosion, takes shelter, and basically, he meets this family. Well, he doesn't meet the family. He sees a family in this cabin in the woods, and basically, over the next year, he basically secretly helps the family, providing them with supplies of firewood. He builds a pen for their sheep. He basically becomes their unseen benefactor, effectively.
And to clarify, this is the family with the blind man, DeLacy,
Yeah.
who often, through the deeds that the creature does, refers to him as the spirit of the woods.
What ends up happening at a certain point after a year, the family decides to leave the mountains to go hunt wolves. Now, this is a part, even in the book, I don't quite get. The creature ends up befriending the blind patriarch, the old man. And of course, the blind man doesn't know that he's a creature. And the blind man ends up teaching him. He teaches him how to speak. He teaches him how to read. And they form a friendship. After a period of time, now he's a little more educated. The creature decides to see if he can figure out more about his past. So he goes back to the old laboratory, makes his way back, and that's where he discovers the truth of his origin. And when he gets back, what does he see but an onslaught of wolves? All that family did was go to the wolves to hunt wolves, and guess what the wolves are, people? So basically what's happening, of course, the creature fights off the wolves, but unfortunately the blind man, as he's dying, the creature comforts him. But in another plot twist, the family comes home. They jump to what they think is the logical conclusion, which is the monster did it, of course. Not the wolves. They shoot the creature. Again, we see this creature's ability to heal because you would think that he would be dead, but no, he revives. And we start to, again, piece together. He's not just strong, but he just can't die. So this is where we get back to almost back to present day. There's a couple more scenes I'm going to just skim through, so this isn't too long. Basically, he manages to find out Victor's address, and he confronts Victor at William and Elizabeth's wedding. He basically confronts Victor, and he says, Victor, make a companion for me so I don't have to spend my eternity roaming the earth alone. And Victor refuses this because he thinks this thing is a savage, and why would he want two of them? He has no compassion for this creature. He just sees this creature as a mistake, and a mistake that never should have happened. So why would I bring another mistake into the world? He basically attempts to shoot the creature. Accidentally, in the process of that, of course, Elizabeth walks in, and he shoots Elizabeth. William comes in. He's wounded while attempting to rush the creature. And before dying, he goes to his brother, and he says, "You're the monster." That particular moment in the film is one that, for me, resonated a lot. The creature carries Elizabeth to a cave, and he tries to comfort her as she dies. Victor pursues the creature to the Arctic, where the creature attempts to destroy himself with a stick of dynamite, but fails. Remorseful Victor and the creature reconcile, as Victor's dying, because the injuries he sustained, it's just too much. And they try to reconcile as father and son, and the creature, in an act of kindness, frees the ship from the ice. And Anderson abandons his pursuit and sails back home. At the end scene, the final scene, we see the creature alone reaches out to embrace the sunlight, as Victor once taught him. There's a lot of stuff that's in between. Even though I gave you a lot of stuff, this is a lot of more of an overview, a detailed overview. There's lots of magical, beautiful moments, either from a technical perspective, from a story perspective. Turn things over to you, because I would love to actually hear your thoughts. I'm really excited.
Okay. Wow. Oh, geez. I don't even know really where to begin. Well, first and foremost, Mike the Wildebeest. Again, buddy, this was for you. This was a first time watch for myself, and I know it was a first time watch for you.
Yeah.
Having listened to their episode on Watch Skip Plus, it was a little bit intriguing to hear what they said. And even though there was a lot of positives said, right, there was a lot of takeaways that I was like, you know what? Yeah. And that's why I accepted the challenge. I said, we got to take a look at this because, again, fan.
Absolutely. Del Toro, man. Even when he has a couple misses, like Nightmare Alley, I'm sorry to cut in. I would say that's a miss for me. It's still not a bad film. It's not as strong as his other stuff, but still, it's still a solid little film.
Well, no, it's definitely solid, right? I'm just going to go ahead and flat out say it. I love this film. And I will say yes, even though there's, as you said, Del Toro's had some hits and misses, right? I will always reflect back onto what Del Toro himself once said, right? As a filmmaker, I have dreams about making a type of film or a specific film. Mm-hmm. Once the film is made, what else do I have? Yeah. I don't have a dream anymore. right? So I think that's where I truly love this aspect from it because, as you know, Jose, Mike, and even our buddy Sammy had mentioned, right? This is a film that he's been wanting to make for years.
Yeah.
This is a passion project. Not only will I say, is it his version of Frankenstein, I think it's his homage to Mary Shelley, and it's definitely an homage to Bernie Wrightson.
Oh, well, definitely especially after you show me those drawings, which our audience will see as you put them in
Yeah.
later on in the editing process. There's no doubting it, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, like some of those drawings, literally screenshot drawing. It's like amazing.
Yes. The production design, the costume design, the way it was shot, when I was watching it, again, being a fan of the master himself, Wrightson, that's all I saw
Yeah,
was pretty much Wrightson's work brought to life.
yeah,
Okay. Now, again, it's an homage also to Mary Shelley, but in Del Toro's defense or in support of Del Toro, however you guys want to take it, he took the end of the book
yeah,
and put it at the beginning, right? Which I thought was actually very creative, right? Because as you said earlier at the beginning, there's been so many variations, retellings, reiterations, reimaginations of the Frankenstein story that when you're going back to some of the source material, which again, Shelley Wrightson built off of Shelley's ideas exclusively, right? His interpretation. 7 years, folks, 7 years to come up with 50 illustrations. That's dedication. That's love for the source material. But Del Toro, again, with his family issues, right? I mean, they mention it, you know, for those folks who did not know, Del Toro did not have a very, as Victor, did not have a very good relationship with his father,
yeah,
right? But let's carry it all further, right? Mary Shelley, her life experiences are played throughout this movie as well. Let's take what you said when William said, "You are the monster." I was taking the entire movie, what Del Toro's version, which in actuality does have a lot of truth of it, right? Almost everybody in this movie is a monster. Ourselves in our real lives, in one way, shape, or another, did something monstrous or to a degree of monstrosity. The conversation the creature has with DeLacy, the blind man, right? I forget the exact wordings, but the blind man was basically saying, "Forgive, forget." You know, to know who has wounded you, to know that you are wounded, and to know who has wounded you. Wisdom is letting it go, right? You can't constantly live in a life of regret. You can't keep filling your heart with hate and rage to somebody who might have wronged you. And if there's an opportunity, if you can look past it, you can forgive yourself. Victor to the creature itself, you know, forgive me. You know, Victor's finally realized everything that he's done. As you said, he was carrying out the exact same treatment he received from his father, right? Which plays into that duality of the disciplinarian was his father. The loving came from his mother, who he lost at a very early age. And I don't know if so. Let me ask you a question before I continue.
of course.
Did you pick up when he was a young Victor? Did you notice what he was drinking?
I did not. No,
Milk.
okay.
Milk.
Hmm.
In the later stages, when he's having dinner with Elizabeth, William, Heinrich, do you know what he was drinking?
I'm
While
assuming
they
it's not.
milk. While they were drinking wine on his last hunt in the Arctic with the creature, what did he tell the supplier? Sharpen my knife and give me cans of condensed milk. What was he looking for all this time? Love, mother's milk. It played throughout. To take it even a little further about, like I said, monstrosity, everyone who watches this movie and looks at William and says, well, you know what? They stated he's just a financier.
Yes.
He's not a monster. There's nothing wrong with William. He was a financier for Heinrich, who was a weapons dealer. In like today's times, to say, well, we know he's a weapons dealer, or we know he's a drug dealer, but this guy, He's just the financier. No, you are facilitating on some level evil. In a way, you are a monster as well,
Hmm.
right? Elizabeth, I think, was more of a homage and reflection to the history of Mary Shelley. Elizabeth was engaged to William,
Yeah.
but she started flirting with Victor,
Yeah.
right? Which, again, as I mentioned, Mary was flirting with Percy Shelley while
Yeah.
he was married.
Yeah. You see
That's
the parallels there are amazing.
the parallels, right? Monsters, monstrosity, some level. Even the blind man, DeLacy says himself, I murdered a man, a good man, and I am spending the rest of my life atoning for that, right? So even though you have a sympathetic figure, he
He has some
he
dirty laundry too, people.
he has laundry. He himself was a little bit of a monster, right? But what is
Yeah.
it we have to do if we can recognize that? We know we might have been wronged, but you have to kind of forgive that person when possible, and at the same time forgive yourself for feeling that way up to, that point. Frankenstein in the book, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, for those who please read it. It is brilliant, and I think her life experiences helped formulate the idea to which her persona, her thought processes come out with Victor, the creature, the blind man. All that comes out.
Oh, absolutely.
We talked about Victor, and this is where, I'm going to ask you a question here in a second. The creature comes alive. He learns to say Victor.
Yeah.
As you said, the creature, that's all he says all the time. Victor, Victor. What do you think the creature really was saying?
Father. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I
Thank
mean,
you.
that was what I would say the natural.
Right? The natural progression of things, right?
Yeah.
To which Victor, in his arrogance, his defiance, he was almost like an addict.
Yeah.
I have to prove I'm right. I have to prove that I know more than everybody. Victor is expecting, well, you know what? You just came alive 24 hours ago. Why can't you recite to me Pythagorean theorem?
Yeah. Where's your Shakespeare sonnet? Come on.
You know what I mean? Del Toro's version, that this is what he was intentionally doing, was trying to create not only sympathetic characters within Frankenstein, even though in Mary Shelley's book Frankenstein the creature is not a sympathetic figure. He's building in parallel in life. You are somewhat similar, right? You become impatient because some folks don't do immediately what you want them
Right.
to do or
Yeah.
learn at the pace that you expect them to learn at, right?
Yeah.
I think Sammy, Jose, and Mike were talking about, strength. Yeah, it's natural, right? For
Yeah.
number one, look at the dude.
You
He
built them.
is
You specifically built them oversized.
dude
So
is Diesel, right? He is
yeah.
Diesel.
Yeah.
But he has the mind of a child,
Yeah.
right?
It's
So what do
effectively
you
he was
do?
given birth.
The scene where you talk about, right, where he sets the laboratory, which was a converted, I believe it was like a water treatment plant or water
Yeah.
sewage plant.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
Um, he sets it ablaze, but as he's walking out, he turns around. Did it seem like he had a recognition that, you know what? Oh my God, I am getting ready to kill my creation? Or, oh my Lord, I'm getting ready to kill my son.
And my interpretation, and I could be wrong, but my interpretation, the only thing that really turned him around was the fact that the creature finally did say something other than Victor, which was Elizabeth.
Right.
So I feel like he finally showed that the creature was able to process more than just Victor, Victor. I don't want to give Victor Frankenstein too much credit and say all of a sudden his conscience kicked in, because I don't think, in my opinion, throughout the book or any of the movies I've seen, I don't think his conscience ever kicked in. I personally don't believe that. I think he just realized, oh, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should go back. And by the time he gets to that front door, that's when the bomb explodes and he gets thrown back and he loses his leg.
Yeah.
And then he's like, screw it, I should just go kill this thing. And
Yeah.
that's when he chases after him into the Arctic. So I don't believe it was, he had a change of heart all of a sudden and became this person that was like, in my opinion, I don't feel that way.
Well, no, see, and that's where I think the beauty of this movie comes in, right? Del Toro's telling,
Yeah.
as compared to Mary Shelley's original work, because for those who have read it, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is it is quite vague, right? There's nothing truly detailed as you would
Yeah,
read in like most modern books, right? So there is a lot of interpretation that many
yeah,
folks have had with her work. As we had just discussed, right? That's beautiful that
yeah,
we have like two different trains of thought, and that's fine. So let's continue on now with the creature's tale. The blind man, I think, I've always felt, having read the book and the many interpretations, kind of missed it a little bit, but really brings it forth in this movie is he is truly blind to the ugliness and the prejudices of perception.
yeah,
The creature comes in, he doesn't like, who's there? Who's there? He's just like, who are you? You know, come sit.
yeah,
I'm lonely, and oh my lord, you're deathly cold to the touch. And he realizes that yes, he doesn't have a lot of verbal skills, a lot of knowledge, so he
yeah.
teaches them, he nurtures them, he provides that fatherly
Figure.
love. Even better, he becomes that father figure that the creature was longing for in Victor. And this is where I thought it was kind of beautiful too, because right as you said, Bride of Frankenstein actually comes out a little bit into the play with this, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, because what is happening on the wedding night? The creature tracks down Victor and asks for a companion. And this is where I'm also going to put up an image of the illustration as compared to the movie, where the creature grabs Victor in kind of a rage and says, you know, if you don't create it for me, then I'm going to just torment you. You know, the creature in its base sense is only looking for love,
yeah,
right? And that's why he wants a companion, because, right, does not the creature say, build me a companion and I shall forever, you know, be gone from you?
yeah.
And Victor just says, no, I can't do that, right? His ego, right? His defiance. He's almost like a drug addict if you stop and think about it, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, he's
he
the
has
most
to,
toxic guy you'll ever meet. That's for sure.
right? So he defies, and that creates even more conflict where the creature says, you know, well, you know, okay, you want to play this game? We're going to go at it. The ending, when I watched, well, it definitely diverges from Mary Shelley's version of
Yeah.
the book, because in the book, even Mike picked up on this and stated it, right. The creature is the creature, right, and it makes intentional choices to stay the creature. It also reflects back onto his conversation with the blind man, right? Forgive, forget. That's true wisdom, right? And I guess in those moments of clarity, and God, I hate to say it because yes, I'm getting up to that age. Even though I tell my kids I'm immortal, that
Of course, you got. If you don't say it enough, it might actually become true. You know, it's
it
that.
might, it
You
might, I
know,
might
you
find
gotta
that genie's bottle. Who knows?
exactly.
But it's on his deathbed, pretty much, that Victor, in his moments of clarity, seeing his creation, seeing the creature having rational, logical thoughts and discussions with him at that moment, does he finally, and he admits it, right? I finally see all the evils that I have done. He asked for forgiveness. He asked the creature to forgive himself, you know, for always wanting to die. No, what you need to forgive yourself for is for the opportunity to start living. I thought that was great. Not because it was, again, an homage to Shelley or whatever version of it, right? But I think it was Del Toro's message. Maybe it was a self-serving message, right? To
Yeah.
forgive, you know, the people who have wronged him. Let's just say that. And at the end of the movies, and this is where I mentioned earlier, the bone of contention, do we finally get thanks or a recognition to the
Mhm.
creature design for Bernie Wrightson? And even past that, a special thanks to Liz Wrightson, Bernie's wife.
Mhm.
I've met Bernie several times up to, I want to say it was about 2016, 2015.
I'm envious. I'm very envious.
He was a legend. You know, they say don't meet your heroes, don't meet your
Yeah.
legends. Bernie was the exception to that rule. What a
Mhm.
generous man with his time, his conversations, even talking outside of the norm for people who might have read it, like Plop comics from DC. Plop, it was just a crazy, it was kind of like a Mad Magazine, different crazy, different stories, but he did he did some artwork in there, and He actually, we sat and talked about all that and how it came about and all that. It was, I met a legend, right? And
Yeah.
the legend come to life that to get a set of credits at the very end, the tail end of those credits, I had a problem with. I will argue until someone can prove me wrong, or if Mr. Del Toro himself pings me and says, "Hey, look, let's talk. Let me explain why that happened." Bernie
Mhm.
Wrightson's credits should have been first and foremost because, folks, I'm just going to show you something, okay? So
Wow.
this right here is a two-page, two-panel spread, basically titled "Wedding Night," and over here on my left side, you can see the creature grabbing Frankenstein, right? And I'll put a
Yeah,
better graphic, but you guys can kind of see.
yeah, that's amazing. It's
Now
like, wow.
look at this artwork, right? It's kind of reflected throughout. The level of detail, the level of sophistication, the dedication Bernie Wrightson had. All these pieces over 7 years, again, folks, 7 years. You're not getting paid for that. How many of you have been that dedicated to a project? But he created his artwork in a line art, a etch style that plays with both positive and negative lighting, shadows, line widths, and features to create dimensional breadth and width with his artwork. Now, when you compare a lot of his artwork compared to some of the shots, you will see Del Toro has taken that same approach, right?
He's
If you
using a
go back and
storyboard, basically, some of the scenes.
yeah, he basically his illustration storyboarded the whole movie from again playing with positive and negative lighting in some of the shots where all you see is the sunlight hitting Victor and the rest of them is in shadows, right? You will have to you I don't know how you could deny it. Again, if you're familiar with Wrightson's work on Frankenstein, his name should have been first and foremost in the credits because I don't know what Del Toro's version of Frankenstein would have been without Wrightson.
Yeah, no, and based off what you're saying, and unfortunately, I haven't read the Wrightson thing. I'm hoping I can find it on Hoopla or find a digital copy, possibly. Um, but based off what you're saying, just by looking at those drawings that you shared and what you're going to share with our audience, there's no doubt. It definitely wouldn't have happened without that because it's literally some of those scenes are literally scene per scene.
Yeah, exactly. That's my only contention with this film is that again, without Wrightson, I don't know what Del Toro's version really was.
Yeah,
Right? Even though they might have met and just collaborated a little bit in 2008,
yeah,
up to now, I don't know what he would have done. I really don't. But I respect that Del Toro 2025's Frankenstein pays homage to Mary Shelley,
yeah.
definitely to Bernie Wrightson, and I think in a cathartic way, he forgave himself or forgave others in his life. The takeaway that I have from this movie is the one thing that the creature was looking for was love. This movie, I love. I watched it for the first time this past Thursday, absolutely stunned by it. I was emotional. I actually had someone cutting onions nearby because I had some like eye sweats starting.
So you had the perfect excuse to cry. You can
You
be like,
know what I
"Wow,
mean?
the onions, it's the onions."
It's because, folks, unfortunately, I'm going to have to retire this shirt and frame it because the print is cracking. Bernie Wrightson he's not around. May you rest in peace. He passed away in 2017. Del Toro himself owns several of his original art pieces. There is so much love that he put into this, and
Yeah.
there's one scene, and folks, this is where please watch because I'm going to put it up on the screen. There's a scene in the early part of Victor's tale where he's sitting on a windowsill and he's sketching, okay? He's sketching like this, right? He's not
Mhm.
sketching like most people draw holding it with the finger. He's sketching like this. Now, this is where the love comes in. For folks that know the history of Bernie Wrightson, I want to say early 2000s, he had an accident where he broke his wrist
Oh,
and it didn't heal correctly.
oh
He
wow.
could no longer draw normally holding it with the finger points, right?
Hmm.
Bernie Wrightson draws the way it was depicted in the
Oh,
movie
Oh wow! See, that unless
That's
you're like a huge Bernie Wrightson fan, your average person would have never picked up on that, which is really really cool.
I'm going to tell you how much that freaked me out and how much I was yelling at the TV at, telling my wife, "Look, look, look, look," and she didn't understand it.
Yeah,
Right? But folks, again, the images should still be up on the screen. If not, I'll put them back up a second time. But just those little details, that little
yeah.
bit of love Del Toro had for what Wrightson put forth shows up in this film. And it's just so small. Just the way Wrightson used to draw, he immortalized it in film. Gosh, who's cutting onions? Because it's starting to happen again. But anyway,
Watch out! The big man's about to start balling.
the message of love that the creature was looking for, I think Del Toro delivered it in this form of this movie because I actually love this movie. This is definitely one of my favorite like retellings of Frankenstein, specifically for the homages he pays. His love for Mary Shelley's story, his love for Bernie Wrightson's visualization, and his desire to make a Frankenstein movie. This was a fantastic movie. Mike the Wildebeest, my man, I'm so glad that we took this challenge up. Yeah, that's my long winded appreciation review talk about this movie. Now I'm going to turn the mic over to you.
It's not long-winded at all, man. You know, whenever I feel like I'm being long-winded, and I know sometimes I feel like I am, I know that like that means I'm in love with it. You know what I mean? Like, that means that it's a love letter, just like he's Del Toro's giving a love letter to Bernie Wrightson and to his love for the novel. It's a love letter to your love of the work, So whenever I feel long-winded, that's how I feel about it. Like it's me professing my love for it. And you did a great job. I genuinely, like I said, we spoke a little bit. Something I normally, by the way, just so I don't normally talk about. I try to refrain from what my general thoughts are. This is a rare occurrence. Some of my minor critiques I'll get into. I genuinely do love this film as well. I've loved most of what Del Toro has given us. There's only been a handful of things that I haven't like, wow, what happened? It's very, very rare with Del Toro. He has a pretty good track record. I mean, to start off with the positive things, for me, I'm going to start off with the technical stuff. It's on a technical level. This film is shot well, beautiful set design, gorgeous costumes. The acting is all top notch. There's not one bad piece in the acting department. It all coalesces on a technical level. I love the relationship and the parallels we talked about earlier, where we see Victor losing his mom at a young age. We see the father adoring the stepson, but abusing Victor. And then later on, we see how that reconnects when Victor becomes the father and he starts abusing the creature. Like all of those things I absolutely love. I love it follows the story of the novel with some exceptions. I'll get into that in a second. I don't want to forget the prosthetics. I love most of the work done in the film with the makeup. Jacob Elordi, his acting for a guy that's pretty young, I think he did it. He had a tough task to make this character feel like it had a heart and had some humanistic qualities. A monster, it's easier said than done. It really is. I think he did a great job. They did use CGI for some stuff. Primarily, it was background stuff, like for some of the wolves and the birds, or to enhance set design stuff, which a lot of films do, and it looks really, really good. I mostly have nothing but respect and love for this film. There are a couple points of contention, and these aren't major points, and it's not like, hey, screw this film. The one big thing, and I'll give you the frame of reference, like you're a huge Bernie Wrightson guy. I know of him. I've obviously probably read some of his stuff, but I'm not familiar with his adaptation, so I don't have that frame of reference point. One thing that really kind of, for me, and again, this is just an aesthetic thing, visually, as much as I like everything in the film visually, the one thing that I mentioned to you off screen is I was not in love with the overall look and design of the monster himself. Again, just a visual aesthetic thing. It just felt off. I'm not going to ever knock a film down because of that, because at the end of the day, there's so much more when you're telling a story than just that. And then the other thing that we've been talking about, the ending. I think they got a lot of things right. I think they focused on some of the stuff that the novel did, which is the main point of the novel, in my opinion, is horrible consequences of unchecked power and the failure of the creators to take responsibility for their creations. And I think they got the main theme of that. I mean, they got the theme of isolation and destruction and creating monsters. And I think they did a really good job of interpreting the source material and putting their own spin on it. I personally, again, do not like the ending like you do. And I get your liking for it. Like, I understand your logic, like the idea of forgiving, right? We all should do that, right? And you really, not even for the other person, but just for your own self, so you can get peace from it. And listen, I that wasn't lost on me at all. Like, I get that. I had an opportunity to do that, but I did not. And I probably should have. Just for my own sake, forget the other person. I think we've all come across that at some point in our life, whether it be a friendship or a friend or a family member. The right thing to do, like I said, forget about the other person, but just for your own self, is to forgive that person so you can let go of it, hopefully, and move on. That said, I will say that to me, part of what makes the original novel so good is the tragedy, in the sense that you don't get that the monster is alone and there is no forgiveness. He doesn't give that forgiveness to Victor. And one of my other favorite novels of all time is The Count of Monte Cristo, and that's been misinterpreted many, many times, and almost every adaptation gets the ending wrong. And basically, there is no happy ending. And I'm not saying this doesn't present this happy-go-lucky wrapped in a bow tie ending. It doesn't. But you get that absolution, and I completely understand why he did it, specifically behind the scenes, what, like you said, the stuff he had been through in his life, Del Toro. I specifically understand why it makes sense. I personally just have a hard time connecting with it when I think of the characters, because I feel like, while I can recognize while it might make sense to a lot of people, to me, I just don't know, after being through everything he's been through, that forgiving this guy, even on his deathbed, is the right thing to do. And maybe that says something about me. At the end of the day, it doesn't take away from all the amazing things this film does right. It is a reinterpretation. When you're watching any film be adopted from a book, a poem, a comic book, you want something, in my opinion, that isn't a direct word per word reinterpretation, because that's boring. You want the director or a comic book writer or whatever version is going from one format to another, you do want some sort of stamps that make it unique and different. Well, we talked earlier on about our favorite versions of this brought to the screen. And I jokingly, and I wasn't joking really, I don't know why I'm joking, but I mentioned the Roger Corman version. Part of the reason I like the Roger Corman version is that, even though it's not a perfect film by any means, he swung for the fences and he took a lot of different choices. And I know that didn't connect with a lot of people. It connected with me, but it doesn't connect with a lot of people. And I really think the choices that he made were interesting. So in the same way that, even though I don't agree with that final forgiveness thing personally, I can respect it because it was an interesting choice. It just wasn't for me, and it left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. But again, that doesn't take away from everything else that came before it. It's still a really amazing film. And again, thank you, Mike, for recommending it. I was going to watch it at some point, but it definitely got kicked up to the top of my watch list. I mean, I definitely have a lot of love for the film, and I really genuinely love Del Toro's personal stamps. And now, after watching it and finding out how much he basically, scene by scene, not everything, but a lot that he took from Bernie Wrightson, I am, like yourself, a little bit annoyed having that knowledge that he didn't give him more of a, like you said, he credits it towards the end, but maybe he should have credited in the beginning of the film, Right.
Well, let me ask you this, because even though, as we're winding down, folks, in terms of movies of 2025, how do you think this movie stacked up to everything else that had come out?
That's tough, man. It's so tough. I really have to sit there and think about everything that came out. I mean, this was a good year for movies, in my opinion. I mean, I've been to the movie quite a bit. I didn't see this one because obviously it didn't get released except for a limited release. But I mean, I would say it would probably be. I don't do lists, but if I were to do a list of top 10, it would probably be somewhere in that top 10.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
I
I
don't
would
know
have to
where
agree with you.
exactly, but it would definitely be there somewhere
Yeah,
in that.
I think that's the thing is bottom line, wherever the final rankings are, this is one of those movies that is up there, right? Even though it was released so late in 2025, I don't know about you, but I think I'm really, really glad that we held off to talk about this until now.
When I look at the overall mass of what this film is, from beginning, middle, end, it's a pretty damn good film. You know,
Yeah,
it's a
it
pretty damn
really
good
is.
film. And when you think about all the different adaptations that have been made and all the shorts that have been made and everything that's been incorporated into television, it's been adapted to screen comic books. A couple of different versions have been out there in the comic book world. There's been video game characters. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's out there. You know, and when you have something that has had that many different adaptations and interpretations, it's really hard to put your own spin on it, paying love to the source material, but then also at the same time doing its own thing. It's hard to do that successfully because it is a balancing act. And I think this film really gets that balancing act well. Like you, man, nothing but positive things to say about the film. Check it out, people. I think if you like monster movies, if you like good movies with drama and creatures and, you know, even the sci-fi element, there's a lot to love here. And the good news is, besides Netflix, for physical media lovers, Criterion is going to be giving this thing a physical release. I don't know when, but probably my guess is sometime between now and the end of the year. So look out for that as well.
I'm
So
buying 2 copies. I don't give a damn. I'm
you don't
buying
mess
2 copies.
around, man. He's like, I got my copy that I'm going to play, and just in case that breaks, I got my spare copy. So that wraps up today's episode, guys. Before we head out, I want to thank you all for listening as usual. We appreciate the love. If you like what you hear, give us a like, guys. Leave a comment. And if you're feeling extra generous, hit that share button, man. Get us on your social medias. If you like it, maybe some of your friends might like it. You know what I mean? Also, something I don't do nearly enough, and trust me when I tell you this ahead of time, we don't make any profit from it at all, is there is a TeePublic site that a friend of mine did the artwork for. And if you just type in now for something a little bit different, you'll see some designs that we have from our little characters, and they're on there. So you can get like a hoodie or a t-shirt. Now, like I said, we don't get anything from it. The artist that did the work for it is very talented. Even she doesn't get much of it because TeePublic takes most of it because they're doing the printing and everything.
Yeah.
But if you like the show and you want to sport some gear to show your love for it, just go on TeePublic and search our name, and you can find that. So
We'll provide the link. And we'll provide the link in the description.
Yeah, absolutely will. Quick shout out, Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema, Will and Sam. Check those guys out. Of course, Troy and Brad with the Not a Bomb podcast. We got Watch Skip Plus with Jose and Mike the Wildebeest, who inspired this episode. Caliber 9 from Outer Space with Rob and Joe. Oh, and this week I will say that Watch Skip Plus is on there. Mike the Wildebeest and Jose are on there to talk about Troll 2, and I want to say, I can't remember the name of the other film, but anyway, there's 2 films. Death by DVD, who's coming back soon, and Raiders of the Podcast. So check out all those great podcasts, guys.
I apologize, and I got to throw out one because they're buddies of mine, and we're going to talk a little bit more about them. In March, folks, we're going out to Cincinnati to see our buddies. I'm going out with Troy.
Nice.
We're going to go out and see our buddies over at Night of the Living Podcast, one of the oldest horror podcasts around, over at the Horror Hound Convention.
Nice.
So can't wait to see those guys, and I'll bring back a report and some video and images from that.
We'll put them in the pod roll. I'll make sure I throw them in the pod roll. So, yeah, guys, these guys are all not only just friends of ours, but besides that, guys, they all put out really good episodes of really interesting stuff. And each one of their shows is unique in their own way. So check all of them out. And again, thank you guys for listening. I hope everybody has a wonderful week.